I know a lot of you, but just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Ruger, the city manager. And I started about a year and a half ago in my role. And like you all, I love this town and just can't get over the opportunities we have and the ability to really become something special. One thing that I think is really unique about Trinidad, when you look at other Colorado mountain towns, we like to compare ourselves, and I think that's a good thing. But people talk about Salida, they talk about Durango, those types of places. My observation, and I am native to Colorado, those places kind of became popular because they got discovered, and people started moving there, and people started buying property and investing, and then the cities themselves kind of had to do catch up and say, okay, oh my gosh, we're becoming a destination now. How are we going to handle all this influx? And by the way, thank you for all the tax dollars. So it's not necessarily a bad problem to have, but what I like about Trinidad is that we are kind of ahead of that curve. I think it's pretty safe to say Trinidad's more and more going to become discovered. It's going to change. Whether we like it or not, there's going to be change happening. But what I think is terrific about where we're at as a community is we have a relatively blank canvas for what that change looks like. So that's something we can dictate as a community instead of relying on outsiders to come in and make it what they want it to be. So this is where we can come together, embrace the past, embrace the future, connect the dots, and really become, do it better is what I'm expecting than any other town has ever done. Hence why we're here tonight. And thank you guys for coming out. I would say on a cold night, but it's a heat wave out there as far as it's been for the last several days. But this is Marv Wiegner, right? Wiegner. Okay.
Hey, right.
Wiegner. This is Marv. So Marv we're so lucky. We did an RFP to hire on a strategic planning consultant. And Marv will talk to you a little bit about the process, but from my standpoint as city manager coming into the town, one of the things I immediately recognized is we have no shortage in this town of opinions. We have no shortage in this town of ideas. And there's so much help to that. How can we use those opinions and ideas to come together as a community instead of dividing ourselves? And unfortunately that happens. And Trinidad's not unique, but strategic planning is really the quintessential way, in my opinion, of how a city can come together and talk about what are our goals over the next 5 years. And for me, the council, and for you all, I think one of the best things we can have is a roadmap for how we're going to accomplish what we want to be. And the process takes into account everybody's perspective. Marv knows me here at Trinidad, you know anybody else here?
Nobody except you folks.
Okay, and you all soon to know Marv. So Marv comes in with really an objective viewpoint and is looking at it without, some of the biases that we tend to have because we are passionate about this community. So what ultimately we're hoping to get to out of the strategic plan is a living, breathing document that we, I would say strategic plan should be on a pedestal as you walk into City Hall. And that when a resident comes in and says, what are you guys doing for the good of the community? It's right there. And that's what we want to focus on. So everything should tie into that. Now, I will say, it's not, yes, there'll be some specific tangible things that we want to achieve. But on the other hand, we want to keep it a little bit fluid, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, to accommodate changes that may come up. But in general, it'll be our guiding document for how we plan and develop our growth and moving forward as a community. So I want to thank you all for being here. It means a lot to me to see, I know we're a small group, but you are all very impactful people, and every voice matters in this process. And so I will turn it over to Marv. I have to run out for another meeting that I have tonight because it's nonstop. But I'm glad I could be here to welcome you all and really encourage you to be candid with Marv, be respectful of Marv, but be candid with him. Give him the good, the bad, the ugly from your perspective. And I think we can grow as a community in a way that works really well for, I don't want to say everyone because it's hard. We have 8,300 people that we're trying to serve here as a city entity. But I want to get to the best approach, and I want to get to the preferred outcome for how we can really make sure that something special. And what's brilliant is I think everyone in this room can agree that Trinidad Park is something super special. There's no question in my mind on that. I know there's a lot of negativity that we endure. There's a lot of interpoint. There's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, is a lot of it. And the other thing that I think is there's a lot of distrust in our community. And that's okay. I think that if we use those facets to our advantage, they can be really powerful things to really make things better. And again, the strategic planning process is an attempt to kind of wrangle all that in and put us on a trajectory that's going to work best for our future. So I'll turn it over to Marv from there, and I have to get out of here, but I really appreciate you all being here, and thank you so much. All right. Thanks, Dave, you guys. Yeah, you guys.
Greetings, everyone.
Marty's going to give you feedback.
Hi, everybody. I live just a little bit about me. I live in Gunnison. Who knows where Gunnison is? Not everybody here does. I know that. Okay. It's out in the mountains, very cold. Yeah, I think 15 below this morning. Just awesome. I grew up in the Midwest in Iowa. Spent about 20 years in state government in Iowa. 10 years resettling refugees from Southeast Asia. 5 years running running welfare reform after that. And then I was the director of policy and strategic planning in the state. Anybody know where Iowa is? My joke about Iowa is that we need Iowans everywhere because we all left. Tough place. I and my company have been doing this work for 25 years as of last August. What you might find interesting is that we've worked with over 100 jurisdictions in government. By a jurisdiction, we mean a city like yours or a county. So we've worked all over the United States. And right now we're working with 5 local governments, 3 in Colorado, 1 in Arizona, 1 in Virginia. And all that just to say that we have a breadth of experience in listening to people from all kinds of perspectives, all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of life and lifestyles. And I could just take a minute to talk about the process, right, and what you're participating in, if I could. I know process is pretty boring, but this actually matters, right? So, beginning with the end in mind, what the city wants to do is to develop a strategic plan that looks out 2 to 5 years, right? Why 2 to 5? Well, if it's less than 2, it's operational. It's like what you're going to do next year, right? And you can work off just a list of things to do if you're being operational. But if you're being strategic, you're looking out 5 years, 6 at the most, to operationally identify what it is you want to achieve for your community. Much past 5 or 6 years, you're speculating rather than anticipating what you can actually achieve, right? So that's kind of that's the planning horizon that we're working off of. I'll tell you a little bit more about this plan. If you read most government communications, if you read a performance report, or you read a strategic plan, and I read them all the time, right? This is our business. What you'll read is the government talking about itself. What we're going to do, right? If the organization is setting a plan and talking to you through that plan, and they're telling you what it is they're going to do, who are they talking about?
The people.
No, they're talking about themselves, right? If they're talking about what they are going to do, which is this strategy or that strategy, where they're going to do this for economic development, or they're going to do this for infrastructure, or going to do this for public safety, or whatever it is, the communication it's about them, right? And that's culture. We've worked with 40-some businesses, and they talk about themselves, and they talk about services. We've worked with dozens of not-for-profits, and guess what they talk about? They talk about what they do, right? And government does the same thing everywhere. We've come to believe that it's just part of human organizations. They talk about themselves. Well, we flipped the switch on that. We help cities like Trinidad, and they want this. They want a strategic plan that outlines what you are going to experience as a consequence of the city's actions. What you'll read in this plan is what the city wants you to experience. And the focus is on you, the community, the members here, the organizations here. So it's a very different strategic plan. You know? And what that does is it tweaks the culture of government to focus where it belongs, to focus on you.
Do we wait with questions or do we ask questions immediately?
What's that?
Do we wait with our questions or
Yes,
we ask?
yes, if you would, just for a few minutes. And then I'm going to prompt you with a question. I'm going to prompt the conversation with a question that I have for you, right? So the process is, there is community consultation like this. There's another meeting like this tomorrow evening. We have interviewed each of the council members, each of your elected officials. We have also held 2 focus groups with departments. Focus group is like a small meeting like this, you know, with particular people. One was with the department directors of your departments, and the other was with their workforce, with their staff. You really need their professional opinion about what the issues are, right? So there's 2 questions tonight that I want to ask you, right? And the first question is, what are the issues, looking out 2 to 5 years, what are the important issues that you see for your own life and for the life of the community? What are those big issues that are important, right? And here's the logic. If you know what the big issues are, you can develop a strategic plan that addresses them. If you don't know what the issues are, you can plan for what has been rather than what will be. So these are issues that might be important in your life now. They might be issues that you anticipate over time emerging as being important as well. And then all of this input, I don't edit anything out. All of this input will be brought to the council, your elected officials, council, mayor, in February. There's a 2-day meeting where they'll hear all this feedback through me, and they will take all of the issues that come up into consideration, and we'll be able to focus on everything, but they're going to be able to focus on, you know, what your elected officials end up thinking are the most important issues. Right? So this is very issue-oriented in this conversation. Thank you. And you can ask me any questions you like. I'm going to write just, you know, simple words up here about what the big issue is, whether it's, you know, whatever it is. I won't try to determine what the categories of those are. But I've been here twice. I'm not of the community. I don't live here. So I'm just listening, basically, and passing along what you tell me are the most important issues. And they can be small. They can be what's happening on your block, in your neighborhood, at an intersection, or about, you know, clearing the roads from snow. Or it might be something bigger about how the youth in town are doing, right? It could be something really big about healthcare, public safety, or infrastructure, or quality of life issues. You can tell me whatever you think the issues are, and whatever you think or want to say is just fine. And just in terms of the meeting, so I'll make sure we get to everybody. If you just kind of raise your hand, we can kind of take turns that way and just be respectful of each other when we're talking. And I listen, that's my job, is to listen, okay? So just I'll remind you what the question is. The original question is, what are the important issues in your mind and in your life now and looking forward that you'd like the council to pay attention to. So I'm like a listening post, and I love to listen. When I hire consultants, I ask them one question: what's the most important skill of a consultant? And if they don't say listening, they're out the door, right? And it's a skill that organizations can often learn a lot about, and it's a practice, of government. It should be listening, to people who live here, pay taxes, or do business here, or who have friends here. So she has friends here. She's not listening.
She's a neighbor.
Yeah. Or who I said, or who have friends here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Aguilar. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, great. So let's introduce ourselves. I'm Marv Widener.
I'm Tom Murphy.
Hey, Tom. And just tell, what town do you live in?
Mistina. I live in Aguilar, and I am very interested in what's going on in our county.
Okay, very good.
Suzanne Magnuson. I live here in Trinidad for 3+ years.
Hi, Suzanne.
Joseph, I moved here from Europe half a year ago.
Very good.
Very good.
I was just in here.
Where?
I went to London to get married.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Very nice.
Molly, Trinidad.
Hey, Mom.
Joe, Trinidad as well.
Awesome, Joe. Thank you.
Dave said Stephen, Trinidad.
Stacy Jennings, Trinidad.
Very good. Hi. Very good.
Ashley Ryan, Trinidad.
Yes.
Marty Hackett, Trinidad.
Very good. And for full disclosure, Marty works for the city as the economic development.
Tourism.
Tourism manager. That's close.
Close.
All right. So we're not going to go around or anything. Just whoever would like to speak first, please start.
I'll start.
Yes.
I came because I thought Clay Mason was going to be here, and he is the head guy of our homeless population.
Oh, okay.
But he's not here. He's
Maybe-
had COVID.
Clay is at our Patriarch event across the street at Main Street Live. He's one of our patriarchs.
there's
It's a
two
summer
different-
companion event.
Oh,
Okay, I thought I was going to see him.
You can still come.
But he has COVID, did you say?
No.
They did, but they've been out of commission. But
We
with
all
all the
have,
weather,
right?
we're trying to save our homeless.
He was here earlier, but he went across the street to do his Patriarch.
So I could
Well,
go over
maybe he
there.
can be here tomorrow night.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that.
I know.
Maybe he'll be here tomorrow night.
I should go.
You should go. You can come back here tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
you
do
don't wanna
that.
miss that.
You're welcome.
Homelessness, though, is an
Okay.
issue
Thank you.
that obviously she came all the way here for.
So say something more about that, if you will. Anyone of you.
I'm from Denver, and we have a lot. I have a personal. My sister was a runaway homeless, so it's very deep in my heart.
Yes.
And we're fighting with the city. They want them to go away. They're not going to go away. We need a shelter. We need something here
Okay.
for services for our homeless.
Okay. All right. So let's say homelessness, lack of shelter, and something
Services.
about
I mean, that can go even further. It's like some need hardcore intervention because some are on the edge. They really need support from a psychological, like,
Yes.
go to an institutionalized type of
Yes.
And there's no resources
Exactly.
here.
Lots
There's
of
none.
support. And
The
there are-
resources here are private and volunteer,
Oh,
so it's the
they
church
are.
leaders and there's a handful of people that have stepped up for it, but there are a lot of city resources, and we're fighting against the idea, the vilification of the general consensus around town. The vibe is it's the vilification of homelessness and addiction. So there's no even talk about any harm reduction. Like we're a decade behind on so much service that could be provided just to keep people alive.
And here I would add that I wanted to ask before, like one of the biggest underlying root is the culture of a culture of a past meeting a culture of a future. And you said a cultural shift, and I started giggling a little because I worked with companies, with big companies, and know what it means to shift a culture.
Yes.
And it's like 2 to 5 years of suffering to make it, with everybody being willing to do it.
I suffered that.
I know, but you were willing to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here is willing to do it.
Just suffer.
So I think this is just throwing some sand into our eyes, honestly,
Okay.
for 90% of the things.
Okay.
Because a deep-rooted cultural shift from what currently is, that's based on what was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and I'm just observing for half a year. The same as you were listening, I was
Yeah.
just observing.
I've been here less time than you.
I know, and basically, if we want to move forward in a way that we can be able to tackle the challenges that the 21st century is going to throw at us, some radical changes would need to happen. And the word radical shouldn't be taken as something dangerous or fearful or whatever, but a certain level of openness towards new perspective and new knowledge has to happen. So culture, structure, mindset, and behavior has to be addressed. If not, we won't do anything. And I don't know how much this kind of things addresses this.
That's quite right. So, in terms of notes, let's say the culture of the past is dominant,
Yes.
Yes.
very dominant.
And I have nothing against it.
No, I
It should
understand.
stay, but it should be able to move forward with what is coming.
Some adaptability to
Yes.
the future. Okay. So let's say needed adaptability for today and future. So, thank you. I love
This is,
talking about culture.
It's not something I encountered in my own life, but it's very recognizable around town. I think it ties into the homelessness issue is just housing. It's very tight in town. Colorado's become very expensive, and people who are new here oftentimes are setting market rates higher than they have been, significantly higher. I've been here going on 3 years. I've seen one new apartment building go up. I've never seen a house being constructed. Maybe some like trailer homes. So anything that the city could possibly do to help bolster that, bring in development that leans more on affordable side of things. I just see a huge need for that here. Anytime you see a house up that's $1,000 or less a month, it's just gone in a heartbeat. So,
And in defense of the city, they did push for the workforce housing.
They
Marty,
did.
what was it called?
They did.
Housing Now did go through. I was awarded some of that, and then we had a whole development thing that fell through. But there is that. But I don't know if that bridges the gap for the need in immediate terms. But
and if we continue to grow,
Right.
that need will
right,
only
it's like
stand.
we're always a little behind, or a lot behind.
Sorry.
No.
Plus, you can add here, there are a lot of second or third or fourth houses for certain people that are just sitting empty
Yep.
and are falling apart. So that's something that I'm not sure how that would be addressed, but if there would be certain incentives. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vacant, and one of my notes said commercial space, like the amount of vacant space in town is kind of
I
astounding.
think code enforcement might.
And tiny homes, change the code so we can have tiny homes.
they're not allowed.
Not in Denver.
Yeah.
No, we couldn't have them.
The thing about housing is, you never get in front of it, right?
No,
But
of course.
if you don't build, you can't grow. If people won't come here if there isn't housing, or if it's not affordable, which has happened in my valley.
I have a little something to say about housing.
From your industry, yes.
So there is a large gap in the housing here for the apartments that are available around town. We have a lot of that are income-based. And myself and my husband both are managers of businesses here in town. And we have both had the experience of our employees asking us for fewer hours because they're making too much for the rent.
To qualify.
And if they have to go part-time, because if they work a full-time job, they make too much and they would have to find somewhere else to go. And the only places that are out there are way above what they can
So
afford.
basically, there's a gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Not-
need middle income.
Even for this building right here,
It's-
there's the income bracket that you need to fall into for the art space apartments here. A lot of people got didn't qualify for that because they made slightly too little or slightly too less. And it was an issue at the beginning, and I think it's been resolved a bit. I'm not involved. I was like a little bit a long time ago, but yeah, it's hard to fall into like the perfect margins
Right.
for that.
And this happens, as I know you know, this is a pervasive issue in Colorado,
Yes.
right? And across the country.
Yeah,
It's
the whole US.
It's
Yeah.
Like gentrification is really, there are just few places that manage to set up rules and scenarios that would protect indigenous, let's call them, I don't want
That's
to,
okay.
I like it.
people who were there so that they were not pushed out in a way.
Right.
Even if they were pushed out, they were pushed out with such benefits that you cannot say that it's bad. So even if you would push out of the city, you got a house somewhere outside. So certain places managed to put up certain rules when new people were coming to buy, that they would have to pay a certain premium to protect. So there are options that currently exist
There
to
are.
look into, but that's like, because nice houses, you cannot find a nice house. The funny thing is, if you want to buy a nice house in the city, you cannot find it online for less than 250, 300,000. You can find houses, but you cannot find nice houses.
You can't, yeah, you may not want to live in.
That
Nice houses are expensive, but then you have a lot of things where it's just, when you walk in, you don't feel abundant living in such a place. So it also brings you down, and then you have a different kind of
This way
spark.
instead of this way.
Yeah.
And we're looking to attract a workforce here that we don't have housing for, and it's like workforce housing is a huge thing. I think Joe touched on that for sure. But like there's a whole a whole gap that's getting lost.
So
Yeah.
workforce housing is not necessarily for people making money, you know, and it should be, right? So a lot of times there's focus on lower, you know, income families, et cetera. But what you talked about is people who actually making middle class incomes are really out of the market.
Yeah, they're building.
Honestly, the people that I'm talking about, even if they work full time, they wouldn't be making very much. They're still like 30,000, 32,000
Yeah,
a
that
year.
margin is
That's
so
nothing.
low.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
just over
And they
the.
can't qualify me.
And it disincentivizes them to make the last dollar.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they
That
do,
was-
they just lose, like, probably
That's-
with tax cuts and everything else, they lose so much more than.
Right. Unless it's stair-stepped, you know, that's the damage that public assistance programs make.
And then the other thing would be push the average salary for another 10,000 up, whatever that would mean in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
at least.
Right. Okay.
Just please write the average salary of individuals in the city,
The wages here are
the
low.
wages here.
Low wages.
Very low.
Very low.
So, and maybe Martin, you can help with that. What is the average individual income or household
So
income?
that
How's that
should be
compare?
go from average or from median?
Either one.
I don't know, but there could be a difference because
A
there
little
could be
bit
a few
different.
high
A
rollers
little
that
bit,
are
yeah.
pulling the average
Push it
up.
up, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But you eliminate the bottom of the top, right? So.
So that's Steve has that.
I know, Steve,
Okay.
come back.
That does.
Somebody got a computer? Can look that up.
I mean, you know, the hard part, I'm sitting here, and I don't know all the professional fees, but as a hospitality employer, I probably pay an average of around $18 an hour.
Okay.
And at 2,080 working hours, that's about $37,000 a year. So if somebody was an average working, and I know there are some $15 raised, and we just increased, you know, the wage in Colorado is almost 15, 14, 52. So $18 an hour is only $3 over minimum wage, and for anybody that's hardworking, you should pay that if they have any amount of years within. So I think our income in Trinidad, if you would take out, it would only be considered by the people that are actually working, not the people that are on subsidy sort of pays or governmental assistance, is probably somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000.
That's a big range.
Yep.
And then what is the percentage of the population that is on public assistance? I think we're at 40%.
And also
Fixed
then
income.
to understand how many are at 40, how many are at 60, how many are at 80, because the ones at 80 live like kings in Trinidad.
Right.
It's like, with 80 you have a good life in Trinidad because it's easy.
Can you say something more about the low wages, please?
I'm
No, anybody.
For it.
I wasn't just looking
Oh,
at you,
sorry.
sorry about that.
I can maybe give a bit. So My company has 21 locations across Colorado. I would dare say my location is the lowest paid. The way they determine pay is they look at the area, the average pay in the area,
Right.
and they pay you pretty much the lowest that they possibly can get away with in the area. So my starting wage is $14.50 an
All
hour.
right, thanks.
In Denver, with the newest increase of the minimum wage, they're making like 18 something an hour, and my people are angry about it.
Well, just a question about your company, right, and its policy. Are they looking at the cost of living, or are they looking at wages? Is that,
What do they
there's
call it?
two very different wages.
We asked them to look at cost of living because the cost of living in Trinidad is fastly approaching the cost of living in
Sure.
Denver. But I think what they looked at was called the cost of labor.
That's a very different number.
Yes, it is.
You see what they're doing? And not to criticize your company.
Yeah.
What they're doing is looking at the wages in the area and going for
Yeah,
that.
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, of
right?
course
We're
it is.
stuck. We're stuck.
So I've got the census, most recent census data, median household is about 48K.
Okay, yeah.
Per capita income, 29K.
Thank you for that. So let's write that.
20% persons in poverty.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
And that's bad.
Well, I mean,
Great.
this is the second poorest county in the state.
Right.
It's kind of
What's the
something-
poorest, Sawatch?
Sometimes we're the poorest.
Well, we're not as poor as Sawatch.
And we're the largest, which is crazy.
Are you the second, is Sawatch the only one lower?
Yes.
I believe so.
Sawatch is one of the 10 poorest counties in America.
So we're in the top 20.
There you are. This is no great honor
It is
either.
somewhere.
So I do think this is,
If I could quote Fiddler on the Roof, this is no great honor.
yeah, it's closely related to my other broad topic, which is just economic development.
Sure, let's talk about it,
That
please.
goes back to the storefronts. You know, I own a business here
You do.
over the last 2 years. When I started exploring that, there was a city economic development position that no longer exists. There is, even at the time, even though that position existed, there were no programs locally or at the county level that I could really
Okay.
find. So you can go to the state level, but there was nothing, you know, no incentives to bring me here
Okay.
besides just raw opportunity.
Just raw guts, right?
I mean, I guess.
Wild West.
I won't give
I'm
myself.
talking about you, I meant.
Yeah, I won't give myself that kind of credit. But,
Well, I will. I'm a business person. I
But it,
will.
but it is sad in the sense of that if you thought that you were running a business and you didn't think about the development of that business, that you weren't thinking about your business healthy. And so by not having an economic development director or not having programs that go along with that, that maybe people that make those decisions don't understand completely how important they are to run the business of the city of Trinidad.
For sure,
Which
there's.
falls into, like, sorry.
And
No,
yet
go.
you don't want change.
But like, there's such a lack of communication between different parts of this city. So the businesses don't have what we feel like is a clear line of communication to the city about what our needs are, because we're missing those departments. And then it's in so many different levels that we're just lacking communication, like,
And-
so massively. So like residents don't have a way to really feel like they can communicate about what their wants and needs are outside of, I will tell you, there's this one Facebook page.
Don't go there.
No, it's a
No, it's the
monster.
only thing that gets anything done
No,
in the city.
truly.
Which one?
And so like people,
Anything
it's
else?
become
one?
like our like communication hub, and it's toxic, and it's really frightening. But it is like a place where people have a way that they can like feel that they can like vent and be
Well,
heard.
venting is not.
But
yeah.
well, it's both.
Well-
Venting and being heard. But like we have like it's so much lack of communication between I think city departments with talking to people that like I think fondly of that work within all of that they aren't feeling heard here and there, and then we are lacking communication from the city level to the state level, and it's just we don't.
So let's stay on that. Okay, let's stay on it.
Can I make a comment? There are people that have a shop here and they didn't even know this was happening tonight
Okay,
because I thought they'd be here.
good example.
They didn't know.
Good example. So, hear you loud and clear. There are not programs. There's not a place within city government that you feel you could talk to about your business issues? If I could just try to summarize that,
Yes.
right? So that lack of place for representation in a way, or a place to connect with the city in terms of policy and programs, right? There's always programs.
Yeah, the programs, I'd like to see more specific things that are helping to bring in these small and medium-sized businesses, because if you want to build that workforce and get people moving here, get a more sustainable economy, right now, we're cashing in all our chips on tourism. Like, that is the only thing I see happening, and that's great. That's great for my business in particular.
Pay
but
for
it-
sales tax, right?
but it does not, sustain an entire town.
It can't, no economy can just be in one sector, but that's
It's
probably.
dangerous.
One of the blessings that we have in our community that we still haven't tapped on, even though we all talk about it, is the 8,000 cars or 17,000 cars both direction that go on I-25 and 3 million cars a year. And if we could pull 5% of that traffic off, that's 300,000 people that would come into. We're talking about a transportation center under between exit 13 and 14, which would be an excellent thing if we could pull 5% of that off the highway, just 5%.
I'm all for it.
In downtown Trinidad, I did the numbers. If we did that 365 days a year, it's obviously more on some days and maybe a little less, but that would be the stream. It would be $60 million plummeted into downtown Trinidad for tourism, outdoor recreation, all the things, live theater, everything that we have. But we haven't been passionate.
Sure, no, but we also don't have the infrastructure for that.
We don't
So
have
let's- we can handle what, 500 cars in the city, that's max. So let's be realistic,
Yeah.
the infrastructure. I just want to, and I agree.
So I just wanted to let you know, so 5% of that would be something like 250 cars a day, and 250 cars a day would fit under where the
That
Amtrak
would-
station is.
that would be
and
perfect.
we could put the trolley there and have people park there and run them around town.
For
And they
free.
would, right, see? So when you get to the small numbers, you say, wow, that's not very much
No.
for us to take off the highway.
But we've
Just
never done
200.
jump.
Yeah.
We also, we need more things to do. I like nature, like tourism is great, like nature, I love the outdoors, but, we need something like mini golf or like a indoor trampoline, because the amount of families that are driving through from Texas to go to Vail and places like that, they need their kids to get out of the car for a few hours, and even if they're not staying overnight, it's like we want them to stop here, and they would stop here if there was anything for somebody under 21 to do other than a bar, which I love to drink, but like it's also like the bowling alley is only open so many times, like there's only so many things, and something like
Stop at Trinidad to drink, right?
yeah, but a large family restaurant or something like
Something to invite people.
Yes.
But that's inviting industry still, and we've stalled out in inviting industry over and over again. And then like with that same thought in mind is that and this is like one of my big talking points like all the time, is that we don't have enough infrastructure to support, or like we don't have enough crew to support our parks and rec. We don't have a park and rec department truly, and I get it, and I feel for the guys that are out there working. They're working their butts off, but there aren't enough of them. Our parks.
What was that last part? I missed it.
We don't have a parks and
Right,
recs
I
department.
knew that.
And so we have some beautiful parks that have fallen into disrepair, and we don't have a rec center that is at all modern or big enough to facilitate
Do you
our
think the
population.
community willing to pay for that?
Yes, absolutely. I think if we don't have an indoor pool outside.
everyone just drives to Raton.
We drive to Raton.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We don't have an indoor pool. We have an elderly population. Our population.
20 minutes.
Oh, I know.
Like 30 minutes over the past. We have a population that skews older. I believe our median age is like 62? 60? It's right, 62, 63.
That's young. What are you talking about?
But it's young, but they need an
I'm
indoor
teasing.
walking track.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a gerontologist is my background, so like, yeah. So anyway, but
You're my friend.
yeah, but we don't have a parks department, and even pulling people off, yeah, it'd be
We
great with the trampoline park, but it would also be nice with a nice park with beautiful parks that could be clean and have signs that aren't broken.
What's the impact? What's the impact on the kids who live here? for not having those things?
There's a major gap in activities for children after they start hitting middle school age. So
Okay.
unless they're heavily involved in sports, which the schools do support the athletic programs as far as I can tell. But beyond that, there's a lack. There's a lack of children's activities. Like,
Or
Grade schools.
does the city have like red flag analysis type of report to see the biggest pain points? Because we are now listing, we're gonna continue listing, we're gonna list 30 things. We have 5 years and we don't have any budget.
That's,
So-
okay. We're throwing it all out there.
I know, but realistically, is there from the city side report that would show the red flags, the biggest pain points, the biggest holes in the bucket where the city is losing and the city cannot handle it? Because there's realistically looking at
Capacity issues.
Exactly. Let's figure out what are the messiest, let's fix those holes, and then let's plan for the rest. And some of those things should be addressed probably with you guys that are so strong in hospitality. For you, it would be interesting to finance or help or build out certain infrastructure that could help pull cars off. So it could be like a private partnership between...
Private public.
Exactly.
And you're feeling like all that opportunity is driving past you, don't you?
Well,
Yes.
sure, I mean, how can you even say 17,000 cars a day and we don't get 200?
I'm trying to paraphrase.
They need to be.
Yeah.
But there got to be a reason for them to come on.
I mean,
Well,
We haven't advertised
and
ourselves
Some
very
of the
well.
things, we all love Truck Stop, we all love Love's Truck Stop, the new one, but it does stop people from stopping both ways into Walsenburg and into Trinidad, which I don't know if the public's made aware of it. And so we also have a new one
Walmart
going in
also.
on exit 15, we have a gas station, and on exit 18 now.
Okay.
So we have 2 more gas stations plus Love's, which when you stop and you have little kids and you have now walked them with your little cute doggy and you've given them snacks and gotten in the car, you're not stopping in Trinidad. And that's one of the things that has hurt Trinidad that we don't talk about. We love Love's, it's beautiful up there. But it has hurt some traffic from stopping in Trinidad to get gas and doing that. Little things like that hurt. I'm appalled that we have 2 more gas stations built right out of our city. Horrible.
But Walmart
14
West
is,
How far? Sorry.
So
How
exit
far-
14 is commercial
Right, I
street.
know that.
Exit 15 is the new gas
I know
station.
that.
Exit 18 by the Welcome Center is the new gas station.
Okay.
15, I think, that's probably city limits still, but maybe
Yeah.
not.
They need one in
18
Aguilar.
18
I'm not sure.
No, it's not.
We have
It's
one
right
in,
across
but
from the
not
city
that one
industrial
that was on the
park.
highway.
If it would be,
People
because
still
they
have
are bringing,
access.
they are bringing city water up there because they talked to people.
So
That's
it
why I
must
know
be
for
city.
sure it's happening because they got the diagrams for the water.
Okay.
So, yes, it's, to me, it's appalling. It's prostituting your city. I don't know how that happened. Like, it is wrong.
So I have a bar. Speaking of, Molly loves to drink, so I'm just.
That's
She's
bar.
never at the bar.
Which
That's
bar?
bar.
Which bar?
I own the Trinidad Lounge over on Commercial Street. We're a live music venue. My husband and I moved here from Denver to bring live music and entertainment. So I can't tell you how many times, it's every single day that I'm in there, especially when I'm behind the bar, that people are like, this is the first time I've driven through here for years. And I've never stopped and walked around, and they have no idea about our architecture. They have no idea. They're like, oh, that mountain, what's that called? It's like, why do we have, like, where is our highway? We're missing that piece where it's like people have no idea that there's even a town down here.
So,
They don't know.
so let's stay on that for just a bit. You said we haven't advertised ourselves well.
We have not.
Does, I'll just ask you another question. Does Trinidad have an identity that you can sell?
Not every, I don't think it does, and that goes back to the culture.
We have a lot
That's
of
very
options, and people like to pick and choose. And I think we should be known as an architectural gem because there's nothing like this. We should be known as a historic site. We should be known for the 2 parks. I have to tell people that we have 2 state parks here in town all the time, and like
Right.
people are working really well towards the outdoor recreation stuff. Like Joe here is pushing. He's got a bike shop, and they're doing like the
Bike shop.
gravel rides and all of like it is fantastic. But as far as just people passing through, why don't they see a sign? Where's our billboard that says, "Hey, stop and shop," and like see our
Right.
like what it's like? Because literally
Just-
every day that I'm in my business, people come in and they're like, "I had no idea this was here. This is gorgeous," and that's it at like half running. Like we are
I
now.
know.
Identity. Cole, naturally occurring. You didn't have to fight for the identity. Sex change, natural, it just happened. You didn't have to fight for the identity. Weed, it happened because of Colorado. You didn't have to fight for the identity. It's a city that didn't have to develop an identity because things just came.
Well, part of that, really honestly about that, historically, we're a victimization society. The minds shut down, they don't shut down, things happen. And so you take it with you and you say, oh, that's bad, that happened too. It's like we lose some events, which happens in cities. You lose events, and instead of creating other events or other streams of income, they want to raise the tax. And that is like, we can't do it ourselves, so we're just going to raise money here. So in a society that always asks and asks and asks and has a poverty stricken, we have to be better stewards for the city of Trinidad and leaders and say, no, we're going forward, we're going to do it. Tourism's had a tough time because of exactly what he said. Those things have gotten so big, they get out of hand that sometimes tourism can take over because even to this day, Dr. Biber hasn't operated here for probably about 15 years. Yet every once in a while, somebody keeps saying that to me, and I'm like,
that's all you know.
I had somebody say it to me when I was coming down.
Yeah.
I know.
Are you going to get it?
That was the main thing when I was moving here. I heard it.
That's
Like, oh,
me
the sex
too.
change capital.
Yeah.
Which I think is lovely, and it was an industry that supported so many people, and it was wonderful and transformative to the culture at large. But it's not happening right now.
What I was talking is the underlying.
One conversation, please, everyone. One conversation, please.
An example would be the Corning company.
The
Corning, a company that makes glass for, I think, 150
Right.
to 200 years, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So they started with glass for bulbs. Then that was not profitable anymore. They had to re-identify themselves. They started doing dishes for in the oven. Wow, that was not profitable anymore. They started re-identifying themselves. They started doing glass fibers. Okay, they got competition. They started doing Gorilla Glass. But they kept the identity we know to make shit out of glass. And that's what their identity. But they were re-identifying themselves every time. But they stayed.
Yeah.
Exactly, they stayed with one identity, and then how to tap into, and that's I come from a very small rural place. We have a vineyard, and I'm the old settler there. So I understand what it means, but what's the core identity that can go out of all of that towards the future? And Joe, he's like a marketing guru, so he could probably help a lot of it, especially with the tourism and the other side. So how to coin one identity that could reinvent itself, that doesn't have to collapse every time when something goes wrong.
Trinidad has repeatedly reinvented itself.
It did, but out of...
We could call that boom and bust too.
It's both.
It's both. Yes.
You guys have hit it right on. They haven't intended to market themselves. By circumstances, they were marketed. And now it's time to kind of try to see if we can mellow all that and come up with something that
Be
is
intentional.
better.
It's a beautiful idea. Yeah.
So we've, Ashley and I both, and with Marty as the city liaison, on the Lodging Tax Advisory Board. This is a lot of what we've been talking about. It's a whole new board this year. And the thing with the identity factor, and this comes back to Yoja's very first point, is that we have to have buy-in from all of the locals, long-time locals.
Yeah.
You can't say, hey guys, here's your new identity.
Right.
Because that's just recipe for
That's
disaster.
come like this.
So yeah, that's a really tough nut to crack because it still has to be authentic. You can't just slap a coat of paint on and make it Disneyland.
Even in that, the coal mine museum, I don't think it's supported enough. Have you been in the basement? Have you done the little? There's a little tram down there. You get to see like the history of coal right across the street, right here. And there's photos of like the group photos of all the miners for like so many years, and it's beautiful. And that's the identity. That's our historic cultural identity that is like really maintained, and that people, I think, that their hearts are attached to. But we haven't even put that out, or a Western Art Museum, and
which is top notch.
It really is.
I mean, because of the way that those were made with painting outside and shotting for a catalog. But,
instant. But like, you know, our identity can honor the past,
Oh, yeah.
of course,
Yeah,
and
no,
has
it'd be
to,
great.
otherwise we're gonna hit each
It's
other.
kind of like, I don't know if you guys know very much, but I studied the city of Salida, the city of Alamosa, and its rise and its comparison to the city of Trinidad to try to learn from that. And one of the things Alamosa did in the very beginning, because I don't know if you've been to Alamosa lately, but they changed that place around dramatically. You should
Right.
check it out.
It's
Right?
I was just
Crazy,
there.
crazy, so much better. Well, one of the things that they did as they started different movements in the city, they said, we love our state park. Everybody can agree on that today. We don't have to debate if it's this or that. We can debate that we all love our state park. National
It's-
park.
it's-
But yeah,
they-
but it is, right, but we have 2 state parks here.
Where you-
And so
where
what
you-
they did was every single business in Alamosa put a heart and said, we love our national park. Every single business where people were going to eat, they were opening up doors no matter where they were. If they were driving through something, they had stickers. They did a sticker campaign and people were coming through Alamosa saying, man, that park must be something else. We better come back here because everybody's got these stickers. So and she did a whole bunch of great stuff with GM over there in the city, great stuff. But that was one of the things that was really a small rock movement that got things going. We got Fisher's Peak, and we got water, we got Trinidad Lake, and we got Fisher's Peak. What's wrong with us doing like a campaign like that with just passing them out to all the businesses downtown, no matter where you go, because their national park got like 3 or 4 times its normal after the year after that campaign, and it was so roots in the ground. I just wanted to go over there and shake everybody's hand because I thought, wow, out of all the marketing schemes,
Yeah.
but everybody believed in it, so everybody put the sticker on their door. It was an easy
That's
thing.
nice, because that's an identifier that.
It wasn't
that didn't-
marketing the city yet; it was just getting things moving.
And that's the thing, we're so polarized in this town, there's like really a culture of like
Say
negativity
more about that,
and,
please.
oh gosh, it's, oh, would
Please.
you like me to start? No, so there's.
Right here, right, just right there.
There's a real culture of negativity where people have had generations of boom and bust, and they feel like anything that this is my impression as a newcomer, that any newness that is offered is a scam, is trying to take away their history, is a lie. And like Steve, when Steve said the trust was like
Not welcome.
pinged me. And I think like, I mean, I've built a life here and I feel very welcome and everything, but I see where it is and where it falls, that people are like, oh, this new thing, and there's like a scoff at a new thing, then it closes. And it's like, I don't know how to overcome that.
Skepticism.
Yeah, skepticism is a great word for it. But I don't know how to overcome that culture of negativity when it's like, I know that maybe not every change is for everyone, but if we could work together, we would get a lot further. And right now we're in a point where like, it's like people can't agree on anything. It's tough. I mean, the mine was a huge thing, and then the mine reclosed, and then that left a lot of people high and dry. And we are just in this, like, it's like this
So what?
cycle.
But
So-
I love that, Susan, and you're 100% right, but that's part of the victimization society, the mind closing in, we're at will to these people.
But
We're
if
at
we
will
find
to
a
these
thing to
people.
agree on,
So
like,
then
okay.
when new people come
Well-
in trying to help with their hearts, all these people, they come in with their hearts trying to help, there's still that, they can't help themselves, a little bit of you're new, you may take advantage of us, victimization, and they don't even mean it from their hearts. They're dear, sweet people, but they've been victimized in different ways in their head, so they feel that way. It's neither side is
it's
bad.
trauma bonding.
Both
It's
Why-
sides
trauma.
wanna help.
It's trauma, and it's totally
cultural.
valid. It's cultural and it's valid, and then you see newness and prices going up, which I think like people aren't fully accepting that that's going up all over the country, and you see it just in your home that you've been in forever for generations possibly, and then it feels like an attack. And so it's hard to communicate, and this goes back to like our like lack of communication, or to communicate that this is a national issue, some of these pricing issues
Oh my
and
God.
inflation and
It's
everything.
it's global.
Everywhere. It's
It is.
global.
It-
But it feels here because they've lived in, a lot of people lived in like a insular community, that they like are under attack by any kind of like change that could be hopeful.
So, go ahead.
There's like an overwhelming like consensus that the people who moved here want to change it, and the changes are bad. We moved here because we love Trinidad and you wanted to be here. And most people don't move to a place that they don't want to live. Any suggestions for improvements are then met with, well, why did you come here if you don't like it, kind of thing. And it's like, I love this place, I love this town, I also would like complete sidewalks in my neighborhood. And like, I don't think that those two things should be, like, I don't think that I should be able to say, wouldn't it be cool if we had complete sidewalks in our neighborhood? Like, that doesn't mean I don't like Trinidad. That doesn't mean I'm unhappy we moved here. It's just maybe a general improvement in people's day-to-day lives.
So this is really important because I've heard this thematically in probably all my conversations with folks is this cultural divide between people who have been here a long time and who've been through a lot of hard times, right? The boom in the bust and the heartfelt losses that people who live here have experienced.
But the majority of people experience that wherever they live, to be honest.
Well,
I traveled the world, I saw that everywhere. I went to boom and bust, everybody went. So let's suck it up, and everybody has traumas. Let's create a supportive environment where that can be addressed in a way where we can help each other.
Yeah. So that's maybe the key to this planning process being successful, right? Is to identify some things. I love your story about Alamos. I drive through there, and just live up the road. Anybody know where Gunnison is? Okay.
I grew up ice fishing.
So the idea is to create some results or some experiences that everyone can, not literally every person, but everyone could get involved in and believe in, right? But this mistrust, I would tell you, give you a little bit of feedback. I would tell you that it's more heartfelt here than it is almost any place I've worked. This division between old and new. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Iowa, and anybody who was new was like, that,
Where in Iowa? Where was it? we drove I-80 a lot, so just give me like a general.
I drove about 20 miles north of I-80 in a little place called Toledo. You know where Grinnell was?
Yeah.
I was 20 miles north of there. Cornfields, bean fields, corn.
We went scouting in Galesburg, Illinois.
Oh, very good,
Where's Okoboji from there?
What's that?
Where's Okoboji?
Way north.
Way north,
Way
okay.
north, yeah. So have you done right?
No.
Yeah.
I know a lot of folks that have.
There's a guy in town who does it every year. He's
I
from.
think they're stopping.
Yeah.
Just had us an insider, but it's about bison farming. But this divide and this cultural sort of rift between people who have lived through an awful lot here and people coming in with new ideas or new money or whatever seems to be really heartfelt here.
That's because this is a really compassionate, loving area. It really is. And when we talk about what they think of the people that lived here and they don't want to hear new ideas or they think they've heard it before or whatever, that doesn't come because you're disregarding. That comes because of something that them or their family went through in the past and becomes some of the fabric of who they are. And because there's so many people that are running our city that are just lovely, sweet, wonderful people, and everyone here is a sweet, wonderful person. It's just that sometimes when you bring different energy in from different things, it's a menagerie of different personalities, but we need to survive. And whenever somebody tells me, well, we don't really care about tourism, I said, okay, in the downtown area, let's take away museums, let's take away galleries, let's take away restaurants, hotels, Airbnbs, and bars. Tourism things, what is left? And so by you having tourism in your city, you have a better tax base for your streets to be clean, for the city to be. You have a choice of restaurants now. I marketed the city, but we had 3 restaurants. There's 35 plus now. There's so many, and everybody really is passionately good about their side. It's trying to bring them together.
What you're putting your finger on is what some people know and what other people do not know. What people understand and what other people do not understand. Right?
I have to say communication is a problem. Because,
come around to it.
a lot of people, so I'm on this Facebook group too. I try to count it.
Well, it
when
is
I
a
can. polite way. But communication is non-existent. And I do see a lot of, we don't want to turn this place into Denver. And when they see an entrepreneur, yeah, exactly.
Thank God.
When they see an entrepreneur like Suzanne
Because you don't want to live in Denver.
come in from Denver, their immediate fear is she's here to turn it into Denver.
I couldn't get
She's
up.
here what?
Exactly, here to turn it into Denver, to make this place so different, so radically different that they wouldn't recognize it. And I don't think that
That's a lot of
is-
fear.
Exactly.
That is.
That's a lot of fear.
That is not, I don't think anyone's intention is to make Trinidad radically different. I think what we would like to see is a growth in Trinidad that is just the right size for Trinidad. So we have a group of buildings on Prime that are just empty and boarded up, and they're huge. I think they used to be dorms years and years ago for the college there. That would make great housing.
There's an architect working on the project.
I did see, I know that one of them had some activity,
Sounds like
but there's a couple of more across, there's a bunch of them, right? There's 3 or 4 huge multi-room buildings.
Might be your
We need incentivized people for development of real estate. We need an incentivized program for some kind of industry here. That's the thing that's been going around. I attend meetings here, there, and everywhere. A lot of people talk about wanting an industry to come into town for jobs. Nothing, we're not trying to turn this into the next industrial park, but, so we have a tofu place.
Yeah, I learned about
Something
that.
like that, small,
Light
multi-tiered, light industries, a lot of production
You want
jobs.
to keep nature.
But before we can do all that, before we can start bringing all these people into Trinidad, we have some things we need to work on, like our parking. Where are we going to put all of them? Potholes, that is a big, huge complaint that's on the internet. We have infrastructure issues that we need to work on. We have housing, we need industry, we need communication, I think, above all. We need to figure out where people are getting their news and meet them where they're at. Because I don't think any of the city people are on the internet, on Facebook, on this Trinidad, Colorado chatter room that is airing so many grievances. There's maybe 1 or 2 that pay attention. But honestly, if they want to know what people are honestly saying, that's a good starting point. It's not going to be positive.
What I would caution you about is none of that input is statistically viable.
I understand.
And
But
you don't
Trinidad is
even
a
know how many
Facebook-
people are doing it. And we know that 8,300 are not.
There's more people on this Facebook group than there are in the population of the town.
Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know which one it is.
Trinidad's
don't.
a different monster, sir.
Well, don't.
Well, every monster.
I would just caution you against thinking that you're that special
I also would say,
or that different, because this happens in every community.
when you interact with people in real life,
Just
the
kidding.
positivity is totally different. And like,
Yes.
how, if you going in the store and talking to any random stranger, the grocery store, whatever, like, people are totally cool and chill. And like, that is why folks come to Colorado, and I think that's the lifestyle thing. And we still see that here. So don't forget also that social media is accessible wherever you go.
Yes.
And whatever the topic is, it brings out the worst in
In
people.
every community, it's always there. And frankly, and I understand, and I'm just saying something here, it's kind of noise. Right? You can't make policy on the basis of what's on Facebook.
No, but with lack of communication in general,
Then it fills the
so
void.
that fills the void.
Okay.
So we're filling the void with
Fair
a
enough.
negative culture that exists.
Fair enough.
That's
Fair
fair
enough.
enough. Page should be a moderated thing.
I'm just
on the
saying, you
website.
might want to pay attention to what's happening.
Right, if there was something
So,
that.
Yeah.
I always give a little bit of, feedback about social media.
I have a different question. How do you, if you look at the city, and what we talk, the whole historical past and how to, and I'm going to give an example out of my previous working experience. So I try to convince somebody who is 55, who knows that he's going to be soon retired, or 60, has a certain level of influence, to motivate him to change. And it's impossible.
Motivate him to change how so.
Period. if we want to change certain key positions in the structure of changing things, we need to be open to change. So I was looking at companies and networks, and then you have the influencers, the gatekeepers, the knowledge holders. You have certain positions as nodes in the network that have the most connections. And if those positions don't act right, like those telephone centrals from before, if they don't know how to connect to the right places, they're gonna block the whole thing. So we can come with the best, so that's why I'm going back. Do we have a red flag analysis where we have those bottlenecks? First, if you don't know that, nothing is gonna, because there are certain things are not coming out the way they're supposed to. And I doubted it because I would say it's a little bit lack of knowledge, fear, lack of motivation, and everything that I feel is coming from Europe here. This is an amazing place with good people. So, and I don't think anybody does it out of malicious intention, but then
So what you said, I think in one way, is that you need leaders in key positions that are
and you mentioned something
open to
before,
change.
and I wrote it down.
Oh dear.
I don't know where I put it, but you mentioned something. No, it was not you. It was, we have a lot of ideas and opinions, but we have no leadership. Yeah, but we don't have leadership. We don't have, that there would be I worked on a lot of projects where the leader decided, I'm going to do it like that. And then he knew he's going to get backlash. What he did was ask, I'm paraphrasing, do you want light green or dark green colors? And everybody had the feeling, I have a choice. But it was his vision, and nobody touched his vision. And we don't have that. And we are arguing about green, light green, and dark green instead of the 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What you said, yes, we should have a 5-year plan, but you should have a 20-year vision. We don't even have a 2-year.
Where should that leadership come from?
And then we come back again, the culture between old and new. Ideally, it would come as a two-headed dragon of old and new. It would together come to a consensus in this situation.
Makes sense.
But how to do that and who? And honestly, it's just a matter of time before a really big real estate developer is going to come here, put 100 million inside, and change the surface of the city if nobody's going to do anything.
Is that fear? Is that a live fear in the community?
I don't know, but I'm just feeling that could happen. That somebody who has like a few hundred million extra doesn't know what to do with them is going to see this. Oh, nice! I can make it into the next. And then everybody's going to be, oh my God.
We no longer have a choice.
Yes. And that's not, it's like one company that has a little too much money can change this city by force. And people are not bickering here instead of trying to see it from a little meta perspective. It's too small. You can be holding on your 4 houses or your 500 acres, but if a big player sees this and sees the potential with the airport, with everything else,
Okay.
you lose everything. And it's just a matter of time.
So the idea, right, that you have, I think the identification of the issue is that there is not a combined leadership of longtime residents and new entrepreneurs like yourselves together developing a vision for the city. Is that fair statement?
And it will go together. What are the points, what both of them touched upon? What are the points that we can all stand behind?
Well, that's the idea.
We can stand behind, like, we want that people have a healthy and safe life. And probably everybody wants that. We want our parks to be clean and easily accessible. We want good education for our children. And there are certain things that probably everybody agrees upon. So let's start with those. Let's build a little bit of a common ground.
So the notion when you've got, a somewhat diverse perspective or diverse culture that's a bit in conflict with itself, right? So that notion, the idea of elements, right, parks. Right? That's a very sweet, simple example.
But then they moved forward.
Right, because they found out.
That wasn't the model of our city, that was just a program.
No, I understand. But the idea of this notion of some shared vision or shared results that people can agree to and work together on. You know, when you've got in a sense two different parties, if you will, in a community. And communities are all, you know, there's lots of parts of communities. It's hard to define community anymore. But when you have real cultural divides, right? You have to find something that you can actually do together. That's my observation.
I started on a journey last March. I've never been involved in really any community things until last March when I applied for the Lodging Tax Advisory. The minute
Are you on this board?
I am. I'm the chair of the Lodging Tax Advisory Board, and Joe is a member as well. We work with Marty. Once people found out that I was willing to do things like volunteer for this board or participate in that activity, they came out the woodwork and said, hey, I need you to come over here. You want to do this? I've got so many people that just have been like, hey, we have an opening on this board. You want to apply? And I just don't have time to do it all. But I feel like if you want to be part of what is happening, it is not difficult in action. It's time consuming because nobody's paying you for your time. I highly recommend attending or watching city council meetings. Pick a board that you're interested in. If you like trees, we have one for that. Tourism, we have one for that. Parks and Recs, we have one for that. Get involved. And then once you do and you start learning things, you learn that there are things that are happening, but they're happening at a snail's pace. For instance, there is a coalition that is working on a situation similar to one they have in Alamosa for their houseless population, where it is pods that they can go in and they'll have a place to put their items or their belongings. They'll have a centralized kitchen, a centralized bathroom. Services are offered, rehab if they need it. People help with getting their IDs, their paperwork, applying for services. That is something that they're working on here. It is crawling. It is going so slow. I just asked if there was an update and they're working on the next step. I think our detective, there's a lady detective here that's working on that. Yes, and they have like a whole group. So things are happening. You know, we just hired a marketing firm, hopefully to pull some people in off the interstate. That's one of the goals that we kind of was like, we really want to get this done.
There are things happening.
They're happening. They're just super, super slow.
Do you have the feeling that they're connected or they're happening in different cycles? Because that sounds that each part is digging their own tunnel, but they don't have a centralized. Again, we come to the point.
I feel like that's what this
Communication.
This strategic plan is their way of trying to centralize what is going to happen.
And how to motivate people outside of, like, what are they, the STP, same 10 people? You know, you end up on the same boards with the same people, and it's like, you know, I'm on my boards and I do my thing, but like, it's like, I could do more, but other people could do more too. I'm tired. But they're all tired.
I know, right? That's what volunteers say. You know, can we get more people involved?
Right, but like how to motivate, because obviously everyone is concerned, and that's why there is this like swirling like conversation surrounding like what the future of blah blah blah, and like that if there's like issues, like people are concerned. So it's like how to motivate people to like push things with actual work and not just online talk, especially and talk and like how do you encourage getting community involvement more? Because people, the real thing is that people care about this town, they care about this community, and that's why they're passionate.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I hear from everybody, that people are passionate, they love this community, and they're very committed to it.
I do want to add one thing onto that, and that's just like follow through, like the amount of strategic strategic plan type things I have seen bubble up since I have started getting involved is like mind-boggling.
Really?
Yeah, surveys and like specifically for me, a lot of it's outdoor rec focused because that's what I play in. But like, there's probably like 4 or 5 in the past 10 or 15 years, like outdoor recreation plans and things that the city has put together and paid a zillion consultants. So getting people involved is part of what takes us from plan to action.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, having some level of milestones here, I realize that this is a guiding document that you're producing and not necessarily like an action plan, but things that we can check off to be like, hey, look, we did it, and that's what gets community buy-in too, to be able to point back and say, oh, you love your new rec center, like, guess what, that came out of our strategic plan.
The city agrees with you about that. So,
Beacons of open faith.
right. So just to add another part of this process is that the plan is going to be developed in a retreat by the council in February. In March, the city government is working on an implementation plan with all those benchmarks, milestones, timeframes, and accomplishments for each of their strategic results. So there's a consciousnness about the importance of follow through. I mean, no plan is worth anything unless it's implemented, right? So there is, I'll just tell you, there is a real consciousness about that on this sector. Yes, sir.
I listen to everybody and I respect all your opinions about everything, but I want to say something. There's a lot of other issues that come through here that the public needs to know about. I'm in the public a lot, unfortunately for some people, but the bottom line is a lot of people, businesses, residents, landowners want to talk about our increasing utility rates as well. It's killing us. We're in a community that's, we're not making a lot of money in a lot of different ways, and that's one of the issues. Another issue is how do we improve our healthcare? How do we improve for the elderly? How do we improve for us, for our children, whether it's dentistry, whether it's just basic needs? How do we improve that? So how do we get to the city to communicate with our hospitals and continue to improve on that and move forward on that instead of looking back yesterday? Let's move forward to today on all that stuff. So those are things that some of the community is looking at as well. Also our education. We have a lot of kids from Trinidad that go to Primero, that go to Home, that go to King.
I heard that this morning.
That go to Trinidad, that go to Gold Academy, to go to HTA. So how does the city work with them to improve our educational system?
Right.
Like I said, I respect all your issues that you
that's great
today.
No, it's great.
But these are issues that people want to know. What benefits can you give to our businesses that have been here for a while, as opposed to one industry like they just did a couple weeks ago? You know what I mean? They gave some benefits to the marijuana industry, but what about our businesses that have been here 1, 2, 5, 10, 15 years? What do you do for them? You can't do for one and not do for everybody else. So,
Good
just let me talk real quick.
No, please.
So like I said, so those are issues that people in our community really care about. They love the ADA stuff that's going on in our community, the improvements on that. There's a lot of positive. How do we bring stuff for our children? A long time ago, as a Park and Rec board, we wanted an indoor pool and an outdoor pool. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got the outdoor pool.
I hear that talk about.
Got the indoor pool. So how do we correct those issues? Let's come to problem solving instead of pointing fingers.
Excellent.
That's the thing that our community needs. I think the city and our current council has our best interests. Our county officials have our best interests. Everyone that serves on boards, and it's thankless. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce board. It's free and it's thankless. But what do we do? And unfortunately, a lot of people, when I'm at a restaurant, when I'm at when I'm reffing, when I'm coaching, whatever I do, when I'm with the Journal, and they come to me and say, David, what can we do? What can we do to bridge the gap between the newcomers and the people that have been here for a while? What can we do to repair those bridges? Because I think everyone has the same destination. We all want to go down a different path on it. And we need to come together to come to one road to come to that path. And I believe this study, not only for this year, but for the following years to come, is going to be very important for us. And I wish more people would come. I hope tomorrow more people come tomorrow. So, unfortunately, I got a rep tomorrow night because we have a shortage of officials.
What do you
that's
reckon?
irrelevant. But the bottom line is if we can bridge that gap, because I think we all have the same destination. There's just many roads people want to take to get to there.
Do you have, thank you for that. Those
Those are my points, and I respect all the other points that you guys have been kind of elaborating on all evening. But those are my points. You got healthcare, you got education. How do we help our businesses? How do we make them grow? How do we make them benefit? How do we bring the tourism into it? How do we bring the locals into all this stuff? How do we continue to create jobs, whether it's in coal or mining or natural gas or geothermal or solar or wind or whatever it is. And unfortunately, there's a lot I can't say right now, but I know there's some industries coming into town that are going to create some jobs. You know, in some of the newer and older fuels, and it's going to help our community throughout the county and in the city. But what do we do to help our elderly care? What do we do to help regular care for our children? I got 2 children that are grown up here, so again, I appreciate everyone's opinion tonight, but those are my opinions. So those are what I get from the community. This isn't my opinions. This is what I get from the community when I talk to people, and I'll tell you something. My kids need to go to Walmart with me safely because we
can't get out, right?
And my kids are just sitting there looking like, what the heck, you know? But I listen, and that's the thing is I think like listening, communication, and problem solving is the big thing, and to bridge the gap. We all have the same destination. It's just we all need to get to that same road to get there.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
I just want to offer a
Great
tip.
statement. Thank you.
I had to pretty much beg for the little things that we got for marijuana. So because the city, just like everybody else, rarely sees past their nose. So if there's any way that
And it's not a knock on what they gave to y'all.
No, I'm just saying, sometimes you have to ask for what you want.
And I know some of the local businesses have asked, like, have been here in other industries, and they're like, well, what about us? And, you know, unfortunately, we're like, what about me? What about us? And do we matter? So, but again, it's big, that's big like that, but at the same time, what do you give to our local concrete people, our local construction people, our local restaurants? Everyone should be put in that, hopefully in the next plan, and the city looks at it in a positive direction that we can, what can we do? We did this for A, can we do it for B, C, and D?
Yeah, it's not all around.
What kind
Yes, and then we'll go all around.
Can I have just a minute to do a follow-up with you? So, first of all, thank you, and to everybody. This is a really great, robust group of issues. One thing you talked about is that people talk to you about, you know, the long-term residents and the new residents, and how can we work together? How can you work together?
We need to come to a path of common denominators of solving the issues that we have. I don't know if it's conflict, but issues. And how you do that is through our leadership, whether it's our elected officials, whether it's our business leaders, because I guarantee you, we all want the same destination. We don't want to look in the rearview mirror, we want to look through the windshield. We want to look forward, and what can we do to be positive and bring us together? A study like this is going to bring us together, where we have to have more than what we have here. And my hat's off to everyone that showed up here tonight. Right. But that's what we have to. We all have the same goals. Just how we reach those goals and communication.
What are those goals for you?
Huh?
What are those goals for you?
I want to see more stuff for my children. I want to see better education for my children. Better resources for them to get education so they can succeed in life. I want to see all of our local businesses, whether they're just got here, and I don't care what industry they're in, I want to see them succeed. I want to see our local people not go to Pueblo for healthcare or Santa Fe. I want to see them come in. But it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow or next week. It's going to take a long term.
Do you think we should be selective of the industries that you take in?
I think we have to be open arms to all industries, whether you like coal or gas, or whether you like green energy, which is our solar, our geothermal, or our heating that's coming into town. We have, because the left hand has to wash the right hand.
Sure, but
and it's going to create different jobs.
I know, but why I'm asking, it could be that if we only focus on one side, it's going to eat into the other side.
It's
So
not
we should
about
be
focusing
very.
on one side, it's about bringing the sides together. It's not
No, I mean, if we're going to have industries, it's gonna give a bad vibe on the nature. So it's like, it's also a balance between the plan, how
You can't make 100% of the people agree with you 100% of the time.
Sure.
So you have to compromise, and there's some people that might not compromise. Unfortunately, I guarantee you, there's more people on both sides of any issue that want to compromise and get down that same road to get to the same destination. I promise you. It's just that's why we elect our leaders. That's why we serve
It is
on
why you're
boards,
elected.
and that's why we have to know on all those
Student
people
expectation.
have to network out to all their friends and families to bring them together. It's a task.
No,
and it's a daunting part.
I understand, but the call is where I got stuck. So why would we dig into something that has no future anymore? And shouldn't we then focus on stuff that we can have for decades to come, not on things that don't have the type of potential for the future? So if we now have a blank piece of paper,
I understand that.
shouldn't we then choose the things?
I'm a person that wants geothermal and heating and everything else. But at the same time, I understand you need coal, natural gas, oil. Everybody needs, the left has to watch the right. The coal, in your opinion, is dying, and it may be. But the bottom line is it's still here, and we need it. We need solar, we need wind, we need geothermal, we need natural gas. If everyone comes together, and believe me, I am friends with a lot of people on both sides of those industries.
I believe that.
I'm a registered Democrat, and I'll tell you what, I believe both parties need to leave. But the bottom line is, we all need to come together. If coal's even dying, we need to use that as a resource until it goes. Because it's gonna help out your geothermal, it's gonna help out helium, it's gonna help out your wind, it's gonna help out your solar. You need the left to watch the right.
No,
but for the city, for this plan here, I can tell you the city and the county and everyone needs to come together because again, I believe we all have the same destination. 100%. Same destination.
The city is addicted to
and I understand. I just
Everybody, I want to bring the conversation back. I want to bring the conversation back. Thank you
The
very
most
much.
unifying thing I think that everybody in this town can agree on, like specifically job creation, is some sort of investment in tradesmanship. We are desperate for
That's how you-
that. I mean, that's
Dilapidated houses and
yeah.
storefronts.
Give some sort of incentive for people to bring houses up to code. Like every commercial building on this side of Maine has living space above it, but it's so expensive to get up to code. There's no reason to do it. So yes, create jobs, like do some sort of training program. Like we are desperate for.
I've heard that in every conversation I've had. That, there aren't people who, can fix your plumbing, can fix your electric, can build a house, can fix your HVAC, all the rest. We hear that a lot.
But they're spread real thin.
Yeah, they're spread real thin.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're hiring companies, even the college hired companies from Springs and Pueblo to do all of their renovations right now. And there's really only like 3 big companies in town that are overworked and understaffed, and it goes back into housing. It goes back into
Issues.
Yeah.
To go around to
Those
this.
issues do like this, okay.
Yeah, the workers at the contract Springs.
In terms of the workforce, that's the one conversation that I hear very consistent. So thank you for that.
This maybe, and I agree with you, but this is, and if we go into those industries, we are gonna again develop a workforce that won't be capable for the workforce, or won't have the skills for the workforce of the 21st century.
Talking about the trades, too?
Huh?
No, the coal. And
So if we go for a blank slate, I just want to, and I'm not saying the coal. My grandfather went to the States in 1880 to shovel coal. So I know what it means, and I'm not against that. But if we have a blank slate, and if we can choose, let's choose something that's going to develop itself for the next few generations, not just for a few years. That's it.
Yeah. It's like you talked about Corning glass, right? I was in that plant in Vermont. So if you look at coal as just one aspect of extraction industries,
Then it's fair enough.
then you broaden the vision,
Then it's fair enough.
right? Then you broaden the vision.
I think the private market is gonna figure that out.
I think they will, too.
That's why the money is closed repeatedly, you know?
Yeah,
So-
those things are market driven.
Yeah, so it's more attracting the energy company, right?
That's right.
They decide what to extract,
That's
what
right.
to generate.
That's right.
But
More
making sure they're
sunny
aware.
days than almost anywhere in the country.
I just drove through Wyoming.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in Wyoming.
For so many reasons.
So, go ahead.
Well, I mean, everything, it's such a web, right? Like all these things end up working together and supporting each other. Because you think about how do we attract tradespeople? Well, you need to have quality of life. You know, no one's moving here from the Springs to build houses if they don't like Trinidad, if they don't think that there's things for their kids to do, if the schools are bad.
It's all,
So yeah, you start to build some things and build on each other and snowballs, ideally.
Well, and a lot of these problems are like, actually, these are federal policies. We're talking about people on fixed incomes not being able, or like not being able to work a certain amount of hours. Like that's all, those are federal policies that are put in place, you know, and maybe some people think to keep people poor. Like that, a lot of Trinidad's problems are like really big policy problems.
Yeah, not necessarily.
So it's
like the price of energy.
Price of utility, the price of food, like that, like Suzanne was saying, like
These
a
are
lot of
global
these
issues.
problems that everyone shares, it feels worse here for like many people, I think. Because it's, I don't know, the cost of living has just gone up a lot all over, but then also there has been the shift in Trinidad, like people, because people want to move here. So I think that the pinch was just
That
felt
elevates the cost.
Yeah.
at the same time, and
Feels threatening.
it's very real.
That does feel threatening.
This is a separate tack, but I like that you had brought up, it's related to healthcare, but like elder care. I mean, we've already mentioned
couple of
the
you brought
median
it up,
age
yes.
is like over 60. I
That's
can
old,
see that
dude.
becoming an absolute crisis for this town.
How do our city and county officials work with our nursing homes?
Yeah.
And our other home healthcare facilities are called?
We're gonna need so much more.
Infrastructure, we don't have sidewalks.
You
How
know.
do people with any kind of mobility issues like have transportation outside of like the medi rides and stuff? It's like
They're
it's
living
a
in
major
houses
issue.
that are 100 years
In
old.
the facilities we have for elderly, everyone is like loves to type and loves to see and where are they at today. But the bottom line is with our elderly care, and our regular health care for our children, for us, and for our mom and dad and our grandparents, we have good facilities here. How does the city continue to work with them? How does the county? All of our
So just more
legislation.
support from the city standpoint of the facilities that are existing right now.
Okay.
You're gonna keep
And make that a public thing,
Then it's gonna be
you know,
more.
and because we've elected these officials, the majority has. So how do we support them, whether we voted for them or not? How do we continue to support them and encourage them and know that they, you know, we can't agree with them on a lot of issues, but I think there's a lot more issues we can agree with them on. So, and elderly care is one of them. And it's close home to me because my
Right,
mom's
take
up
care
there
of
in
our
age
kids,
and my
take care of-
grandparents
yeah,
are
my
in age.
folks are here.
Yeah,
And how
so,
old is your mom?
69.
Okay,
My
but those are-
grandparents are in their late 80s, early 90s.
So
So,
how, they are
Yeah, I'll say
okay,
this.
they're good?
so yes, and the doctors here have been good to them. I know there's some people that, and sometimes it's, you know, you go to the hospital, there might be hit miss for you. I know all my family's dealings with the hospital, the ER, everything here has been good. The nursing home has been good.
But all that
other
goes
facilities.
into wages too. It's like, what are we gonna attract? What teachers do we attract when they're getting paid the lowest rate in the state? What
How do we keep
caregivers
them
at
here?
hospitals do we attract
I
and
got
keep
you. Over the
here
course of a
when
year.
they're getting paid the lowest
Whether it's your
wages in the
teacher,
state? And it all, yeah, and
your
it's
nurse, how do you keep them here instead of going and doing
Pay them.
travel care and doing?
Money.
What do we do
We
to
need
entice
money.
people?
We need
And
to
so,
figure out all
if
for
we
it.
got we all have to see this vision.
Great comment.
You could just write, just scrap tomorrow and just write Trinidad needs money.
We've been saying
Every
it.
community needs money, but Alamos has money, Walsenburg has money, La Habana has money. I'm all over, unfortunately, I'm all over the southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, and they all have the same issues as us, but they seem to work together. How do we work together? That's the thing. And in this plan, and if our leaders, and I know they can step up, and I'm not blaming anyone, I'm not blaming anyone, because you got 3 points back at your leader. So
That's
how
another
do,
selfless.
how do
thing that they go
we
into.
get them to look at the issues that are important to us, like we have up here today? What, Marty, you flipped that thing around 2 or 3 times?
Yeah.
Something like that. With this small group, imagine what we could do when we come together.
That's the issue.
And this strategic plan is gonna help us. How does the city involve the county? And we involve and all the other moving parts. Our tourism is important. The people here with utilities, healthcare, education. What do you do for us citizens that still live here? Everything comes together. So how do we do it? How do we prioritize it? How do we categorize it and move forward, utilize it?
That's the hope of this strategic.
And other towns, our sites have done that. They work together. Our colleges work together. You know, or in Alamosa County, or Otero County, or over Lamar, or up in Sterling. You know, like I said, they all work together. So how do we, like I said, instead of bickering and pointing the finger, let's try to come together. Because if we can come down that same road, we all want the same goals. For our families, for our children, for our businesses, and for, and to make Trinidad a better place. Am I in agreement? Everyone wants Trinidad to be a better place, right?
Especially for our most vulnerable populations, and that's like all of us
Especially for
protect.
most
Almost vulnerable of our
Yes.
population. That's always the goal.
Sir, you have the same thing. Would you like to offer an issue?
I've been through situations like this multiple times in organizational change. So really what we're dealing with, and everybody said it, we've done lists like this. I've done at least 3 with the comments. And they all said the same thing. And so just like everyone's saying, we want that forward progress, but with the silos of communication, there's no forward progress. So we can make these lists over and over and over again, and we can discuss all these issues and I don't know, argue on what is the best way to move forward, but without someone to take us that direction, we're stuck. I think we're 15 years behind the times.
Are you optimistic or are you skeptical?
I'm optimistic because there is a lot of, I say progress within the last 2 years that I've noticed.
Okay.
I think there's a lot more people who want this to go forward, but again, there's not a consistent channel of communication for any of this. Just like everyone said, how many empty seats we're seeing here versus how many, we're all members, how many of us are members of the chamber here, right? So like, why? Why was this not on the chamber website? Why was this not blasted out to everybody? Why was this not put, I mean, Trinidad, I saw it on Trinidad Chatter.
Are you aware of the business roundtable tomorrow?
I'll actually be in Middlebury.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just tough because a lot of this information isn't going, it doesn't go where it needs to go.
I know about that.
Yeah, I know business.
It's
Thank
crazy.
you for that.
Yeah.
This is really
Communication.
bad.
I
There's
welcome,
no
I welcome
centralized-
skepticism.
There's no centralized communication system, and like
That's really good.
even with things like as simple as a road closure, there's not an automated text system that the city uses.
Facebook can help it.
There's Facebook.
But the road closures is one
Road
of the
closures,
big, like,
school closures, like any kind of centralized, like our credit card systems go down, and then like all the businesses downtown lose an entire day of revenue because people that do get off the highway can't use bring a credit card or anything again, and the city doesn't notify that out. That should be like just to residents at least to be like bring cash, you know, and
It's really helpful.
there's no, like, I just think a text message alert system, I haven't seen one in the case of emergency.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, that's scary
That's
to me
usually
right
not.
now. And I looked into like what the process of like getting into a text message alert system is, and it's not that hard.
The school does it.
Like, the schools all do it. I
Trinidad
get,
School District 1 does it.
right, so, my daughters at Primero, they do it, but like, how does the city not have that? How does the city not have basic communications about like what Main Street's gonna be closed and the shop owners show up and then like everything's closed and they can't park where they get their deliveries? It's like that should be out days in advance. I don't see, it's not rocket science.
I had.
Sorry.
No, it's like this is one of the things that I think that everyone who works in the city, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they're well-meaning, but they make the easy things hard, like road closures. you could just, like, we have 2 streets in this town of businesses, basically, when roads close. It would take an hour to go and tell people. I had a, well,
Been there, done that.
if you just
knocked on every door.
No, and
on
that's,
Main
it is,
Street
it's a
and
huge
commercial.
challenge.
It's a huge challenge.
It's
Okay,
actually-
but
but,
So, this is a good idea.
So here's,
talk
so,
about
okay,
programs.
on Main Street, I ran a business on Main Street. Of the 3 parades this year, I knew about them. No one told us what the parking situation was gonna be in. And one of the situations on Halloween, we specifically asked, is this going to be closed in front of us? No one could tell us days ahead of time. And 10 minutes before the street closed, they put a sign up that said, the street is closing, and told our customers, if you aren't out of here, you can't leave for 2 hours.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if this city were to put out some kind of communication, isn't it also the business's responsibility to seek out that information?
If there was a centralized calendar that
where
makes
do you-
sense.
So that's my question. Where do I?
So the city website, just, and I
It's hard to
manage this.
navigate, Marty, love you. Not a
I
traffic.
know, that whenever I have a street closure due to an event that I am not managing, but not putting on, it goes on the city website. So and I know not everybody looks at the city website. So how do we get people to understand that there are places where you can
I
get
think
that
the distribution of
information?
that calendar could be done through multiple sources. I also think that something that the city should be aware of as far as communication goes is that the city website is not mobile friendly. So the majority of people, especially in an economic, a lower economic area, people don't have computers. And so, that for ease,
That's
it's
tough
not
when
great.
they're not-
So,
when they're not
like
digital.
to have like a central website, even if there was a separate website that was just city calendar, that was just a mobile friendly platform, would go a long way. And that could also be where you could opt into a text message alert system for things like road
This
closures and
this
stuff.
is really, really helpful.
Here I would like to continue with something where I think what he said, and I think 15 years is an understatement, the level of digitalization that the city would need in its bureaucratic and administration workings. A lot of things could be done much easier if the right systems would be set up with the right people running the system or educating the people who are currently doing it, that things would run smoothly.
These notices you talked about, like the school system getting information out.
That's the meeting they had.
That's
That's the meeting, one thing, digital, again, if you want to
being able to send out, so as an example, right, and as an example for emergency alerts, right? Those things could be shot out through the 911, phone system that everybody's throwing.
No, I'm here also thinking of other things, like the system, the back-end system that the city is using to communicate with itself. What are does the city have their processes in order? Does the city have a library of processes? Does the city have high level, medium level, low level maps of who does what? Does the city have a good job description? Does the city have the base, and is it being followed?
No, the city doesn't have a full-time HR manager. There's
So
no
stuff
one
like
running
that.
that.
Yes, it does.
It does now, but we're,
Yes, it
okay.
does.
Who is that?
Yeah.
So rather than say who that is.
Okay.
Rather-
No,
rather
That
than-
is extremely unclear
just-
because
just-
people have asked,
That's
that is
fine.
a conversation.
It's communications
ongoing.
again,
That
right?
you can't
So-
find that information anywhere. That's
Okay,
like,
okay.
that's
No,
crazy.
So we also have.
There's some feelings
communications
about this.
coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And what does the
And that
communication
was-
coordinator do? To who?
Mostly
Internally?
like social media, no,
Right.
with the public.
But the social media is like a major obstacle that we've set up for ourselves as that being we as the city.
Right.
That it's a hurdle that we're looking at an older population that doesn't use social media.
Right. No, I
We're
know
looking
that.
at people that don't have access to technology.
Thank
So,
you,
but
guys.
what everyone
Have a
has
good
is
evening.
a
Y'all have a good
cell
evening.
phone. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a cell phone and a text messaging, and you could opt in or out of the
Well-
alert system. And I think there's some ways, we don't have to invent a wheel here, it's already been invented, it's being used by private organizations or
So there are things that need to be developed so we can communicate better, but right now, the methods of our communication are being utilized as best we can, so,
Right.
but we do need to move forward. and
Call me in,
that.
let's talk. Come on.
We need someone under 30 to do.
I'm saucy,
No,
it's
but
okay.
we were-
We need
we were-
and that's what we need.
And that's another thing, went to a meeting of the Chamber of Commerce, and me and my wife were the only people who were around 40 or less. Everybody else was 60 plus. So there is a level of population that's 60 plus, that's well off and has their shit together, to say it like that. And they're contributing, but I don't think there's enough communication between generations. So
Diversity and representation is also a major issue here, and that was something that we saw in all absolute respect to the last election and what everyone chose. But there were options for younger people to be involved, and not even young. Nobody was young, but younger people to be involved and add some diversity of age. I'm not that young, but anyway, but
Now we're getting silly at the end of the night. So.
But anyway, it's there's opportunities to diversify some of.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry, we're just still going.
No,
like staff and elected officials, and I think there's opportunity to involve more corners of population and their voices, and that we've missed that on occasion sometimes because just of shit happens, and sometimes because people are afraid of change, and it happens. It's fine, but I don't know.
And sometimes it's also lack of knowledge and admitting to the lack of knowledge.
Maybe the way we've done it doesn't work.
And that's a big thing to admit, okay, maybe I cannot do it, or maybe the way I was doing it is good, but it's not good enough. And I heard a lot of times, oh, I'm going to learn on the job. No, get an expert. You have a junior developer, he can put 1,000 hours in, he won't be able to do what a senior developer can do. He just is not able. And that's why the other one is $500 an hour, and that one is $40 an hour. And that one can put 100 hours in, and he won't be able to do what the other guy does in 1 hour, because it's just a different level of expertise.
Yeah, it's just the reality. The city doesn't have revenue. How do you get these positions that we need at the city level when there's not money to go to?
One thing is wrong, the other thing is openness also to learn and try to find things. Nowadays you can find almost everything online, and you have open things where you can, if you would be digitalized, you would start looking for it and you can find it. You can ask questions, you have free forums, but that's again 1 or 2 generations down, where you could go online and open the questions up to everybody else who experienced the same problems.
Are you frustrated with the expertise in the city? Is that what you're saying?
No, I went through 15 years of consulting. I saw that everywhere. I'm frustrated in general with the levels of expertise and I'm not saying that...
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Exactly. I see it over and over and over again, and people are hired. A lot of times then you come that people hire people who undermine that, not hire people who are better than them that could take them over. And it's just a repetitive cycle that's connected with the culture, and culture leads to motivation, leads to behavior. There it starts. Everything else that needs to be cleaned up. That's the base of everything. And that goes into structure, that goes into mindsets, that goes into behavior. And that's 3 to 5 years of suffering. And who doesn't want to do it? Nothing's going to change. That's what it is.
But we do want to do it, and that's what.
6 people.
Yeah. Well, from the city's perspective, that is what we're trying to do.
I know.
We're making an attempt.
I'm not lashing out probably too much.
We made the first step. Let's see where we can go from here.
And to figure out what are those 3 steps. And I hope the report is going to be exactly 1, 2, 3 baby steps. What can we do in a year, 2, 3? Everything else is overwhelming.
We're going to do it all. 3 years, maybe.
We could.
Well, you could do something.
Oh yeah.
What did you see so far out of your experience in similar situations?
I'm not here to consult and tell you that. I'm really not.
I'll tell you that I am frustrated with the expertise at the city. I think that there's a lack of competent and educated individuals in their positions at the city.
All right,
and I think that there's also a gatekeeping that goes with that, and an inability to admit that maybe there are things outside of their purview, or not their purview, but their knowledge, that is under their purview, and just an unwillingness to admit, I don't know how to do this, and so it just doesn't get done. And I'm this is not a place for specifics, but I think that generally there are a lot of problems like that in the city with officials who just may not know how to do a specific thing, and so it just doesn't get done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other issues?
I don't know if we could, there's no more room. No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I can erase the other side and start over.
So I think I took enough
We're
time.
running up on time, yeah. I mean, imagine if the room was full, none of us would have gotten to talk that much, so.
Well,
It's a big,
there's
it's a
advantage
big
of a
bite.
small group.
It really is.
No,
No, I don't
seriously.
want to, I'm really glad that,
Seriously.
It's all interconnected.
That
It
David
makes
finally
sense.
spoke up, because I was
Yeah.
like, we're all, well, actually, I don't know, are you from Trinidad?
7 years.
Okay, yeah, but like all relatively new. if
And
not-
that's not, I've been here for a while.
If not very new. And so I wanted a long time.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of your time, that's good.
Take that into account. Measure how many newcomers are going to come compared to the old guard to these meetings of sharing.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Exactly, and then because everybody that's on council and everybody that you spoke in your focus groups, 95% is probably people from here more than, it would be
It's part of the
interesting
divide.
also to
Yeah, that's part of the divide.
compare the information between groups that have.
Communication is a
You know,
solid
what I think who I
central
am,
issue.
what I think who I am, what my best friend thinks who I am, and what my client thinks who I am are three completely different things.
Of course.
And the understanding and having the ability to self-reflect. So there are multiple layers of things to address.
I want to thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you felt heard and appreciate your participation. And what's the name of your bar again?
The Trinidad Lounge, everyone calls it the Dad Lounge.
The Trinidad Lounge?
Yes.
You serve food.
Only some frozen white cup. No, we're a bar.
Bar.
But it's
I'm
more
looking for
music.
food.
You go down Commercial Street, we're at the end almost of the
Energy with all this.
I need to, oh yeah, all too much. I need to flip this or I'll come around. I'll just come
I
around.
had that big one in.
Yes, so the smokehouse is open right now.
Smokehouse is
Should be
Smokehouse is open.
Yeah, that was.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was close.
Here, Mark.
Just so I have it. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. No, you're good. I'm just, I've got it. I just want to give people time to read. Of course, they can pause it.
Here, step in front.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Oh, sure, yeah, I want to. Give me one more, so I was going to see one more. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty.